The silence in our house in Rhinebeck is a physical weight. It presses down on the old floorboards, swallows the sound of the clock in the hall, and fills every room with a thick, suffocating dread. It's my fault. I did this. I thought I was saving my father from the thing in our backyard, but I was wrong. I didn't understand what it was, or what it was doing for him. Now the look in his eyes tells me I've committed an act of horrific violence, not against a tree, against something else entirely. My childhood here was perfect, a classic Hudson Valley home with a wide green lawn that sloped down to the tree line of the Poets Walk Park. My mother, Lena, cultivated gardens that were the envy of our street, explosions of color and life. My father, Arthur, was a quiet, kind man. A cartographer by trade, his real peace was found with his hands in the earth. His garden was his map of a tranquil world. I was 11 when he came home from a weekend market in Cold Spring, his eyes alight with a fervor I'd never seen. In his palm, he cradled a seed. It was obsidian black, heavy as a stone, and its surface was etched with faint spiraling grooves that seemed to shift if you stared too long. "She sold this to me," he whispered, his voice full of reverence. "She said it was ancient, a sentinel seed. She said its roots would grip the foundations of the earth and its branches would keep watch over us." We planted it together in the exact center of the yard. The memory is still warm, one of the last pure ones. The soil was dark and rich. It felt like a beginning. The sapling emerged the next spring. Its growth wasn't natural. It was a violent, aggressive thrust towards the sky. Within 3 years, it was taller than the garage. My father was mesmerized. He built a perfect ring of crushed white marble around its base, a sacred perimeter. It was his alone to tend. We were not to go near it. For a long time, it was just Dad's peculiar passion, his sentinel. We'd humor him when he'd come inside, the scent of loam and something darker clinging to him, and say, "The sentinel is content today." But the tree kept growing, and as it grew, it began to poison our world. Its trunk was a pillar of smooth gray bark, cold and slick to the touch. Its leaves were a deep, waxy green that absorbed the light, never seeming to move in the wind. It was a species unknown to any local nursery or database. The grass within its shadow died first, leaving a perfect circle of gray, cracked earth. My mother's gardens followed. Flowers would curl in on themselves, blackening as if touched by frost, even in the height of summer. The soil became hard and infertile. Then the animals left. The bird's song that used to wake me up stopped. The squirrels vanished. Our dog, a brave old shepherd mix, would only stand at the threshold of the back door, a low, continuous growl rumbling in his throat, his hackles permanently raised. He would not set foot on the barren ground. The worst change was in my father. His devotion curdled into obsession. He took a leave of absence from his job. His world shrunk to the boundaries of that yard. He built a simple bench and placed it directly under the tree's dense canopy. He would sit there for hours, perfectly still, his head tilted as if listening to a distant, beautiful melody. Sometimes his lips would move in silent, frantic conversation. He stopped eating meals with us. He grew gaunt, his skin taking on a pale, almost translucent quality. His eyes, once sharp and focused, became glassy and distant, glowing with a serene vacancy that was more terrifying than any outburst of anger. He was fading, being consumed, and he was welcoming it. My mother's pleading turned to desperate tears, then to a hollow, defeated silence. The house grew dark and cold, forever caught in the tree's immense shadow. The breaking point came last week. I found him on his bench at 3 a.m, soaked by a chilling rain, shivering uncontrollably. A beatitude smile was frozen on his face. He was whispering to the tree, "I hear you. I'm coming. I'm almost ready." I knew then it was killing him. It had to be destroyed. I waited for the deepest part of the night. The moon was a thin, cold sliver. The backyard was a sea of black, with the tree a deeper vortex at its center. I took the axe from the garage. Stepping into the tree's shadow was like diving into a frozen grave. The cold was a physical shock, a deep, soul-numbing chill that leached all warmth from my body. The air was still and thick, carrying a faint metallic tang. I placed a hand on the trunk. It wasn't rough bark. It was smooth, unnervingly warm, and slightly yielding like skin stretched over muscle. I raised the axe, and as I did, a sound stopped me. It wasn't a voice. It was a dry, rustling whisper that seemed to come from inside my own head, formed from the sound of a million leaves shaking in a wind that didn't exist. "This is a sacred place." I stumbled back, my breath catching. The yard was silent. It was my fear, nothing more. I swung the axe. The impact was wrong. It wasn't the clean crack of splitting wood. It was a wet, thick, meaty thump. The vibration jarred my arms. I wrenched the blade free. A black, viscous fluid began to seep from the gash. I swung again and again. Each impact was that same horrible, fleshy sound. The black sap splattered my face and arms. It was warm and sticky. The metallic scent intensified, coppery and familiar. It was the smell of blood. I was sobbing now, swinging in a blind frenzy of terror. The tree shuddered with each blow. A low, subsonic moan vibrated up from its roots, a sound felt in the marrow of my bones. With a final, screaming swing, I severed the trunk. The tree didn't fall, it slumped, collapsing with a wet, tearing sigh. It hit the ground, not with a crash, but with a heavy, meaty thud. Silence. The oppressive shadow was gone. I stood, panting, trembling, leaning on the axe. I fumbled for my phone and turned on the flashlight, aiming it at the stump. The inside was not wood. It was a tangled, fibrous mass of dark muscle and glistening tendrils, all woven around a central, horrifying core. I had cut it clean through. Embedded in the very heart of the trunk was the upper half of a human form. I could see the stark white curve of a ribcage, the knobs of a spine, the pale, rubbery sheen of preserved skin. The black blood was still pumping slowly from the severed torso, soaking into the greedy earth. My mind broke. I couldn't scream. I couldn't breathe. "You shouldn't have done that." The voice was a dry, broken rasp from behind me. I spun around. My father stood at the edge of the patio. He wasn't looking at me. His eyes were fixed on the monstrosity on the ground. The vacant peace was gone from his face, replaced with a bottomless, world-shattering grief. He looked ancient, hollowed out. "Dad!" "He has to be burned," he whispered, his voice hollow. "Now, before it finds a way to take root again." We worked in a grim, silent trance. We chopped and dragged the remains into a pile. My father moved like a ghost, his movements slow and precise, his eyes never once looking directly at the thing we were dismembering. He poured gasoline from the lawnmower can, and with a hand that didn't tremble, he threw the match. The fire roared to life, a pillar of greasy black smoke that stank of burning meat and ozone. We watched until the last ember died, leaving only a scorched circle on the ground. I thought I had saved him. I thought I had cut the parasite out, but I was wrong. It's been a week. The tree is gone. My father is inside. He eats, he sleeps, he is physically here, but the man that I knew is not. The obsession is gone, but so is everything else. He is a shell. He paces the rooms, a constant, humming anxiety radiating from him. He flinches at sudden sounds. He stares out the window at the scorched earth with an expression of pure, unadulterated terror. He hasn't spoken a single word since that night, but sometimes he looks at me, and in his eyes I don't see gratitude. I see the profound, chilling horror of a man who has lost his only protection. I see a man who knows what's coming for him now that the sentinel is gone. And I know, with a certainty that freezes my blood, that the silence in this house is just the beginning. It's the silence before the storm, and I have no idea what I've unleashed.
The friendship began in the digital static of my parents' basement in Rochester, New York. While other kids were getting into trouble on the streets of the 19th Ward, I was living a second life online. It was a world of muted headphones and the constant glow of a CRT monitor, a sanctuary from the brutal awkwardness of being 14. That's where I found him. His username was Cypher_17. No flair, no persona, just a blunt, intelligent presence in the chat rooms of forgotten early internet horror games. We connected over a shared love for stories that felt a little too real. Our first conversation was an argument about the authenticity of a local legend from the Adirondacks. He won. We became constants in each other's lives. He was my anchor through high school hell, my confidant through my first disastrous relationship, the voice in my headset during all-night gaming sessions that stretched until the sun came up over Lake Ontario. His laugh was a low, rasping thing that sounded like it belonged to a lifelong smoker, not a teenager. I never questioned it. The message came a month ago, just as I was drowning in the silence of my new apartment in Elmira. Cypher_17. You still breathing over there? The ping was a jolt of pure nostalgia. We fell right back into the old rhythm, talking about nothing and everything. And then, fueled by a sudden, desperate need to make something in my life feel real, I asked the question. Let's finally meet, for real. The pause in the chat felt infinite. Then his response appeared. Cypher_17. Okay. It's time. He gave me an address not in Corning, but in a crumbling post-industrial town called Painted Post, just off State Route 17. The instructions were precise. A corner across from a shuttered textile mill whose broken windows stared out like skull sockets. I parked under a flickering sodium vapor light that stained the world a sickly orange. The air smelled of rust and the Chemung River. I waited, and then I saw him. A figure emerged from the shadows of the mill, tall and gaunt. He wore a hoodie, the fabric bleached and thin in strange patches. He didn't wave. He just stood there, under that buzzing light, perfectly still. I knew it was him. Getting out of the car was the hardest thing I've ever done. The air grew cold around him. Cypher? My voice was a stranger's. The figure tilted its head at an angle that was just slightly off, and then he spoke. It was his voice, that same rasping tone I'd know anywhere. You made it. But his lips didn't move. The sound just emerged from the shadow of his hood, a ventriloquist's trick played with a corpse. I told myself I was seeing things. The light was bad, my nerves were shot. We walked down the deserted street, and I babbled, trying to force normalcy. Remember that time we tried to speedrun that awful game, The Forgotten Depths? I remember, the voice said, too quickly, the words flat and devoid of the laughter that should have accompanied them. I glanced over. His eyes were fixed ahead, glassy and unblinking, reflecting nothing. They were the eyes of a doll. We stopped in front of a vacant lot filled with weeds and shattered glass. This was the arcade, he stated, no emotion in the hollowed-out version of his voice. I spent a lot of time here. A cold knot tightened in my stomach. Arcade? You always said you hated crowds. You never went to arcades. The thing beside me went perfectly still. The silence was heavier than any sound. Then it turned its head toward me, and the hood shifted just enough. I saw his face. It was a mockery of the face I'd seen on my screen for a decade. The features were roughly right, but the skin was pulled too tight across the cheekbones, waxy and seamless. It was a mask, a poorly made mask. I am glad you came, it said, and this time I saw a tiny, unnatural twitch at the corner of its mouth, a pathetic attempt to simulate a smile. I ran. I didn't say goodbye. I just fled to my car, my heart hammering against my ribs, and I didn't look back. The digital footprint of Cipher 17 began to dissolve after that. Old forum posts vanished, chat logs corrupted, but in a desperate late-night search through archived pages, I found a sliver of his real name, Liam L., from a signature on a post about the haunting of the Elmira Reformatory. The search led me not to a social media profile, but to a brief, grim article in a local Penyan newspaper's online archive from 2014. Local teen dies in single-car accident on Route 1A. Liam L. reportedly lost control of his vehicle on a rain-slicked curve near Keuka Lake. The date of the accident was 9 years ago. The world dropped out from under me. The obituary was short. It mentioned he was a quiet kid, kept to himself, spent a lot of time on his computer. He'd been dead for almost the entire time I'd known him. The knocking started an hour ago. 3 slow, deliberate thuds on my apartment door. The wood groaned. Then his voice, filtered through the door. It sounded wet, garbled, like something speaking through a mouthful of mud. "I'm here. Let me in." I've barricaded the door. My phone is dead, the screen showing only distorted static. The only light is from my laptop. I can see his shadow under the door. It doesn't look human. It's a shifting, grasping darkness, and as I watch, long, thin fingers made of solid shadows slide underneath, scratching at the floorboards, reaching for me. A new message flashes on my screen from Cipher 17. Cipher 17, "You wanted a real friend. I'm here. Let me in." The knocking is getting louder. The door is beginning to splinter. He's been dead for 9 years, but he's right outside, and he really wants to come in.
I see you.
The world is a blur of passing pine needles and dark soil. My body feels heavy, a sack of sand being pulled over the rough, unforgiving ground of the woods behind our house in the Catskill Mountains. I can feel the sharp edges of Hudson Valley shale digging into my back, the drag of thorny brambles against my legs, but there is no pain, just a distant, fuzzy pressure. It's like I'm wrapped in a thick, numb blanket. I'm 7. Maybe this is a game. Mommy is dragging me by my ankle. Her grip is iron tight. At first, she was silent, a determined ghost pulling me deeper into the blackness beneath the hemlock trees. But now she's crying. She stops every few feet, her strength vanishing. She collapses to her knees on the bed of decaying leaves, her shoulders shaking. "I can't," she sobs into the silent, cold air. "It's too much. Not my boy. Not my only boy." Her voice is broken. "I just wanted to sing. I just wanted them to hear me." My mommy has the most beautiful voice in the world. She used to sing me to sleep, but that was before the clear bottles with the blue caps, the ones that smelled like the gas station pump. She'd drink from them and her eyes would go far away. She'd sing then too, but it was different. Loud and sad, echoing through our small house in Catskill, New York. She'd sing for people in smoky rooms where I had to hide behind a heavy velvet curtain. I'd watch through a gap as men in suits watched her, not smiling, just watching. One night, a man followed her to our old car. He told her, "You have a gift." He gave her a crisp white card. He said he was from a big label in Manhattan. He could make her a star. I remember the elevator ride to the top of that glittering tower. The world was so small below. The man's office was all glass and cold black stone. He had another man with him who never smiled. Mommy sang for them. Her voice filled the room, beautiful and desperate. The man who didn't smile finally spoke. "The talent is there, but is the will?" "My will is everything," Mommy said, her voice trembling. "Then we will make you immortal," the man said. He looked at me. "The boy should wait outside." I stood by the heavy door, peeking through the crack. The man slid a piece of paper across the table. Mommy read it. Her hand flew to her mouth. "No," she whispered. "No, I could never." The man who didn't smile didn't change his expression. "You will be a goddess. Your voice will be in every home in America. All it requires is a gesture of faith. Mommy turned. Her eyes found me in the doorway. They were filled with terror I didn't understand. She looked back at the paper. A single tear rolled down her cheek. She said one word, "Okay." The car ride home was silent. She didn't speak, didn't blink. She made my favorite soup for dinner. It tasted bitter, but I ate it all to make her happy. Then the world got fuzzy, and I fell asleep at the table. I woke up here, being dragged. I see firelight now, flickering through the trees. We're in a clearing. The air smells of smoke and something else, something old and metallic, like the pennies in my piggy bank. Mommy lays me down on a large, flat rock, its surface stained dark in the middle. The cold of the stones seeps through my clothes. Figures surround us, shrouded in heavy black robes that swallow the firelight. Their faces are hidden in shadow. They begin to chant. The words are low and guttural, not like the Latin in St. Patrick's Church. This is older, wrong. One of the figures steps forward and hands my mother a knife. The blade is long and curved, catching the firelight with a cruel gleam. The offering, a raspy voice whispers from under the hood. The chanting grows louder, faster, a drumbeat against the silent mountains. Mommy turns to me. Her face is a mess of tears and running makeup. She raises the knife with both hands. It shakes violently above her head. "Mommy loves you," she whispers, her voice cracking. It's the saddest sound I've ever heard. Her arms tense to bring the knife down, and everything stops. The chanting cuts off. The forest holds its breath.
My small hand is wrapped around her wrist. She cannot move it. The numbness is gone. A new feeling is flooding me, a power that is cold and electric and immense. Her eyes widen, confused, then terrified. I sit up. My grip on her wrist tightens, and I hear a small bone snap. She cries out, dropping the knife. I don't let go. I stand, and I lift her by her hair until her feet dangle above the ground. "Wait!" she screams, her voice no longer beautiful, just shrill and raw. "Stop, please!" She thought I was still her little boy, her innocent, helpless son. She was wrong. My new friend told me this would happen. His name is Lucifer. He's not like the pictures in church. He is magnificent, tall with wings of shifting shadow and hair like spun gold. His eyes are the green of deep, ancient forest pools, and they glow with a gentle, terrible light. The halo above his head is not bright. It is fractured stone, gray and cracked, humming with a forgotten power. I found a book in my cousin's attic, a book of angels. I didn't summon an angel. I summoned him. He came to me in a waking dream, a vision that scorched itself behind my eyes. He showed me this exact moment, this knife, this fire. He told me Mommy's love had a price, and I was the currency. He offered me a different prayer, a different kind of grace. He gave me gifts. I practiced moving my toys without touching them. I twisted the forks at the dinner table into perfect spirals with a thought. I was waiting. The robed figures are staring. One of them points a trembling finger. The binding is broken. The child is... I don't let him finish. I speak a single word my friend taught me. It is not a word for human mouths. It tears from my throat, a sound of rending reality. The circle of black robes ignites, not with normal fire, but with a silent black flame that consumes them in an instant. They are there, and then they are not even ash, just gone. The silence returns, broken only by the crackle of the real fire and my mother's whimpering. She is on her knees now, begging, "My baby, my son, please, I'm sorry, I love you, I love you." The ground before her groans, it splits open, a jagged tear in the earth. A heat that has nothing to do with fire blasts upward, a dry, suffocating wind that smells of brimstone and absolute endings. "Mommy loves me," I say, my voice no longer my own. It is layered, echoing with a power that makes the trees shudder. I flick my wrist.
She rises into the air, suspended by my will alone, her screams swallowed by the hungry maw of the pit below. I know. I let her go. The ground closes with a final seismic snap. The forest is quiet again, just the fire and me. I turn and walk back toward the house. I have a song to learn.